All right, we've got Gaylen here. He's the ranch manager on the cattle side of the business, and we're going to dive in, talk about all things cattle, the different breeds. You can restock if you're into that. If you're needing to get some beef sales, we dive into that, and the quality of this beef that we have here at 1024. We're about to get into it.
A lot of these calves dressing like 60%, and so, you know, and we're at 15 to 1,600 pound. So 60% of that, and then it's going to be about 50% of that time you bone it out.
Okay.
Your hanging weight's going to be about around 60 usually, and then when the bone out is all done, it's around 50%. So you, like on say a 1,500 pound calf, you're going to have around 450 pounds of meat.
Oh, that's still a lot of meat.
Yeah.
That's more than a couple of deer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we brought a cooler, one of those big, long, white ones, the old Coleman coolers. And then when we walked over there and looked in that freezer, I'm like, all this ain't fitting in there, man. We're going to have to get a little U-Haul trailer and grab a couple more coolers, But so on all this, because this wasn't something that you guys just dipped your toe in with the cattle business and the beef stuff. This is something that's been in the works for a while now.
Yeah,
right?
it's probably been 2 years now.
Okay.
From the first calf we had, but it's actually been so 9 months back of that. So it's actually been nearly 3 years.
Yeah.
In the working.
And then so like 2 years ago we were taking, or last year we were taking photos of the actual beef right before, like Jason would throw it on the grill.
Right.
Even from last year to this year, you can see some change, like in a good way too.
Yeah, so the longer they're on feed, the more marbling you're going to have inside the meat. Yeah.
And do you want a bunch of marbling?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. But they can be too fat or too lean?
The marbling inside the meat is different than the fat on the calf, really. I mean, it's not really the same. You're not getting your flavor from the fat on the outside of the calf, really. It's marbling in the meat that you're getting it.
And then in the summertime, y'all were doing those steak nights.
Yeah.
And
that really worked out well.
Yeah, because a lot of people are in the same boat of like, we would love to get some of this beef, but we don't know how to cook it. Like, is it so special you got to treat it differently with heat?
That's probably more of the chef's question. Me personally, I just cook them like I always do. About 7 minutes on each side, and they're good to go.
I will say I overcooked one a couple weeks ago, and I thought I'd ruined it.
Yeah.
It was still soft and tender.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was a little embarrassed. It was just me and the wife at the house, and pulled one off. We got to having conversation, completely lost track of time, pulled that thing out, cut into it, and it wasn't completely rare in the middle anymore. And I'm like, oh, man. And sure enough, though, served it up, cut it, and it was still super soft, which is shocking to me because, you can burn a steak.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so that's good. But then on the steak nights that you guys were doing, Jason had also mentioned that some of the steak scores, or is that a prime, is that call that a value of that they stamp it with?
We retained ownership of a pen of these half-blood Alcusi calves, and they went 22% prime, which like the national average is like 12, 13%.
So you doubled it almost. Yeah.
And so like we don't have any full bloods other than our bulls. They say they go to 50% or better on prime, which is extremely good.
Yeah.
And when we cross them back on our Sim Angus cows, it helps our yield grade out too. So there's more volume there's more muscle to them, and as compared just to a full blood Alcusi.
Absolutely. So it would be safe to say that it is top of the line, high quality beef.
Yes, sir.
What you guys are putting out right here.
Yes, sir.
And then we can go from field to fork.
Right.
They order it here. It's bred here, raised here, fed here. Then we take care of the rest, and then it's put on the table.
Yes, sir.
Sounds easy enough.
Yep.
What about if somebody's wanting to get into the cattle business, or if they need extra cows, or because we have a different genetic here, right?
Well, so we usually just use the the Alcochee bulls on our first calf heifers, just for calving ease purposes, and our base herd is Sim Angus and Cimarron.
Okay.
And we just use the Alcochees for the calving ease.
And y'all have a plan because Larry took me out one day just to show the pattern of how everything is shifted into pastures by, what is that, by age groups? Okay. Yeah. How does that help with that process?
Well, so we'll take, after we wean those first calf heifers, we'll take them, and depending on which a fall or spring calving, if they're spring calving, they'll go on, when we wean them, they'll go on to wheat.
Okay.
If they're fall calving, we'll wean them in the spring, and they'll we'll usually put them on feed for the summer.
Okay.
Or summer grass.
Yeah, and I can't remember what he said, but he said that y'all can put some pounds on them pretty fast with the type of feed and what y'all are doing.
Larry's very good about when he feeds, he's feeding.
He's extra?
Yeah.
Is that good or bad?
It's good.
Yeah, because I mean, they taste wonderful, but...
Yeah, it's a whole lot better to have that than the alternative.
Yeah, for sure. And that's... He's got a lot of pride in his cattle. I mean, he came from a cattle background before everything, and a lot of people didn't even know that, you know. So it's funny because we were talking with them the other night, and he tried to say he was retired, and Colette was quick to remind him he hadn't retired yet.
No.
He's just as busy just doing stuff, something else.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Well, he was with y'all today, too, I think.
Yeah, it's every morning. If they're here, it's every morning. He's out feeding.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot for y'all to do.
It's something every day. Yeah.
What would be like a daily routine of things that y'all are having to deal with and go?
Well, it just depends on the type of year. I mean, everything's pretty seasonal. You know, this time of year, we just got done weaning all of our calves. Now we're going to go back this next week and start work with our fall calves, and we'll work them, and it'll take us 3 or 4 days to get that done, and then it should be checking weak calves and feeding, and it's mostly feeding this time of year and checking.
Yeah, and y'all still ride fence and check on the fence lines every day or so, every other day. Yeah, we came through maybe last week before, and I think y'all were having to help a mama get one out. And,
and
saved her, saved the calf and mama.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that wasn't the first time, but it's just things that have to get done, right? In the moment.
It happens, yeah.
Yeah. Do y'all still ride horseback out here?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we do quite a bit of horseback.
Because that's almost like a lost art too.
Yeah, it is. It really is, and they let us kind of do it how we want to, and it all works very well.
How many guys you got working with you?
I think there's 9 of us. Some of them are part-time, and we've got a couple of guys that go to school and girls that go to school a couple of days a week. So, but yeah, it's working good.
Yeah, and if somebody wanted to order some of this beef, and besides we've got the website set up now, but on your end of the process, it seems like a lot.
I try to point that to Dusty, but you're more welcome to call me, and I'll make sure to get you in contact.
Yeah,
with whoever.
Because there's different ways, and depending on what processor you go with, you can have everything cut up certain ways, certain steaks. Do you have anything you recommend? Is there better parts of these cattle that might be different than others?
When we started, they was telling me about these chuck eye steaks, and we tried them, and I'll tell you, I'm very impressed with them. It's like the next best thing to a ribeye.
That's what Jason said. He said that you showed him that piece, and he had never really looked into it that much, and then he started cooking, and he loves it.
Yeah. And there's, like I said, there's a few other cuts, the McKinney steaks and the flat iron steaks. I've never had them before until we started this, and I'm not a big roast guy, so I try to do without.
That's what we did too.
As much of that as I could.
I feel like that doesn't. It takes too much time. I want everything into a steak, and if it can't be a steak, put it into some ground meat, and we'll make it into burgers or chili or lasagna or whatever, you know. And the ground meat is amazing.
Oh yeah.
It's steak.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
It's what you're eating.
Yes, sir.
It is on the back to the cattle stuff, because that's something we haven't really been focusing as much on in the past 4 or 5 years, because it's all been hunting and we're pushing all the content for hunting and stuff. But now I've got a little bit more of the cattle content, photos and videos and stuff. But when we start selling this, I get a little lost in the language, because that's not my side of the house, you know. So I'm still trying to learn what these different breeds are and how they coexist together. Does all that? Can they all be together all the time, or y'all trying to keep different breeds apart?
I mean, we tag our Alcoshi calves different. Our Alcoshi bulls are tagged different, and of course, you can kind of look at them and tell what they are, but fairly easy from our Sim Angus or Cimbro bulls. But as far as our base herd, you know, like we've got a set of registered cattle, and then we've got a set of commercial cattle. If, you know, something doesn't fit our registered cattle, we might put it in our commercial cattle, and we'll keep all that separate. But other than that, it all kind of goes together.
And is everything kind of spread out, or is everything centralized? Because it seems like there's pastures full of something over there and something completely different over here.
Yeah, so I guess we're in 4 different counties, but with all within a probably 30-mile radius of right here. But there's 5 different ranches, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they're close enough together that we can still get in and out and tend to, but it still seems like a lot, right? Because you're having to load back, especially if you got horses. You got to load back up, drive over to somewhere else, unload, pack out, get everything together.
We try to make it where we can spend at least a half a day. You know, if we're going there to feed or whatever, it'll usually take about a half a day to do that, or we might spend all day there if we're working cattle there. So
during the summer times, don't you guys get around and y'all have like it's either a cowboy lunch or a cowboy dinner or sometimes?
On Fridays during the summertime when the lodge doesn't have guests, we'll have the chef will cook us a meal.
And everybody comes in.
Everybody comes in. Larry's neighbors and friends. My mom and dad come. And
that's pretty awesome. Yeah. It's just like a big family here. If I needed something, I'm calling you. You need something, you're calling me, right? And I think Larry and Colette have always been good people.
Oh, absolutely.
People like they have this sense of like hiring good people in return of getting more good people. Absolutely. And this whole place is just surrounded with solid folks.
Yep.
And that's something you guys have culturally here that's probably admired in this local area, because people are like, oh, they're going to Cowboy Lunch. You know? It's just something pretty cool to be part of.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, Gaylen, thanks for swinging by. I think we're going to have Ramon swing through too.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Bet.